Good evening, everyone. Good evening to everyone joining us from India, the UAE, and across the globe. On behalf of the Office of Alumni Engagement, it is my privilege to welcome you to the Christ Alumni Global Connect series. Today is the session 4, Middle East chapter, centered on the theme Scope and Career Pathways for Tax and Audit Professionals in the UAE. This Global Connect series is more than a webinar platform. It is an expression of our shared philosophy thrive together, grow globally. It reflects the belief that the strength of Christ lies not merely within its campuses, but in the journeys of its alumni, who carry its value across continents and industries. As we gather today, we do so in the gratitude and in purpose. We extend our sincere thanks to Dr. Father Joe Cece, Vice Chancellor, for his visionary leadership and for continually fostering a culture where alumni engagement remains central to institutional growth. Our heartfelt appreciation to Father Dr. Jossi, Director for Banagata Campus, for his encouragement and support in strengthening meaningful alumni connections. We are deeply grateful to Brigadier B.G. Jagdish, Director for the Office of Alumni Engagement and Center for Placement and Career Guidance, whose strategic direction ensures that these platforms are not merely events, but bridges of opportunity. Our thanks to Dr. Rishikesh KB, Associate Director for Institutional Partnerships, Internships, and Alumni Connect, for his consistent efforts in nurturing alumni relations and creating global academic industry interfaces. We also acknowledge and appreciate Ms. Monica Maria, mentor of the Middle East chapter, for guiding this regional network with dedication and commitment. And above all, we extend our gratitude to our alumni community, those who have generously chosen to reconnect, to share, and to give back to their alma mater. Your continued association strengthens the Christ legacy worldwide. The UAE today stands at a pivotal point in regulatory evolution and economic diversification. With the introduction of VAT, corporate tax frameworks, strengthened compliance norms, and expanding international business activity, the demand for skilled professionals in tax and audit has grown significantly. For young professionals and aspiring finance leaders, it's about strategic positioning, adaptability, and global readiness. Today's session aims to provide clarity, direction, and first-hand insight into these pathways. It is now my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker for today's session, CA Jaison Mandapathil, an alumnus of the BCom Finance and Accountancy Batch 2017-2020. Jaison exemplifies the global trajectory that Christ graduates continue to achieve. He currently serves as Manager for Compliance and Assurance in the UAE, operating at the intersection of regulatory compliance, taxation frameworks, and financial assurance systems. His professional journey reflects not only technical competence, but also adaptability within a rapidly evolving tax and regulatory environment. Having navigated the transition from academic foundations to an international professional landscape, he brings with him valuable practical insight into career mobility, skill enhancement, professional certifications, and industry expectations in the UAE market. Today, he joins us not merely as a professional, but as a proud alumnus returning to share experience, clarity, and guidance with fellow members of the Christ community. Jaison, thank you for being with us for this evening, and now the stage is yours.
Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, Kanak. Thank you so much for this opportunity, in fact, to the Alumni Office too. It does bring a great deal of a joy when I get to come back and reconnect with fellow students of Christ as well. And it does give a sense of, pride within us as well. So yes, thank you so much for this opportunity. And
Jaison, sir, I'm Rishikesh this side. I just wanted to remind something.
Sure.
Our father, Vice Chancellor, has lost his mother. So probably we can observe a few seconds of silence before we begin in the remembrance, and all of us can keep her in our prayers. Thank you. You can begin. Thank you.
Sure. So yes, without much further ado, let us actually jump in today's topic. Now, I can see that all of these attendees and a couple of students are here, right? Now, many of you might be interested in moving into UAE or thinking about career opportunities in the UAE. Well, from my background, I come from a tax and audit profession. And in this background, I have been given the privilege to share my, what do you say, expertise, or it could be my experience with all of you, and try to give you a sort of guidance through which might be helpful, which you can keep it for the future use. Now, in today's session, there are three agendas or three objectives that I would like to fulfill. I would want you to understand the UAE tax and regulatory landscape, map your career opportunities in both tax and audit profession, and to give you a basic idea about how the registration pathways are to become a registered tax agent or a registered auditor in the UAE. Today's agenda, we will be covering 6 sections. The first one being talking about the evolving tax and regulatory landscape in the UAE. Then we will slowly move on to what are the career scopes for tax and audit professionals in the UAE. And then we will also speak about the general pathways to become the registered tax agent or a registered auditor in the UAE, followed by 2 interactive sessions towards the end with a tiny activity and a Q&A session. Now, let us get into section 1, to understand UAE, to understand UAE's tax and regulatory landscape. Now, to give you an idea before we go into the session altogether is, UAE as a country is a very tiny country on the map. It has 7 emirates with about 11.5 million people as the population as of today, or the last population count. And out of this 11.5 million, roughly 38% of the entire population of the country are Indians. Now, it's like little India, it's like little home, and yes, everybody belongs over here. Now, UAE as a country is a very chill of a country, if I have to say lightly, with the local population being only hardly about 10%. Say out of 11.5 million, less than 2 million is the local population in the UAE. Now, the Arab culture is more of a very simplified culture, wherein they do want to bring in regulations, they do want to keep compliances, but it is not as hard as, how hard it is in India or how hard it is in other European nations. But over the years, as you know, UAE has gained a lot of fame. It's becoming a regional hub, a financial hub, a global hub, and it's setting new standards for, all the world as such. Now, with all of these come in place, if I have to say lightly again, in Spider-Man, there is great Uncle Ben saying something. With great power comes great responsibility. So likewise, with the growth of the nation, we have huge evolutions in both the tax and regulatory landscapes in the UAE. Now, over the past decade, UAE has moved from a very light touch tax environment to a modern regulatory framework. That shift created both new responsibilities as well as new career opportunities in the industry. In 2017, the introduction of excise tax, it signaled the start of a modern indirect taxation culture in the UAE. A year later, in 2018, that is, VAT, similar to GST in India, VAT arrived alongside, and it gave a stronger push to the indirect taxation culture in the UAE as a whole. Now, both of these taxes in 2018 itself, there was an increase in demand for both compliance, there was invoicing issues, and even transactions testing, and a lot more complexity to this profession that just came in. And not too far away, in 2018, we had anti-money laundering rules as well come in. In 2019, we had economic substance regulation, which came in as well. Now, this required companies to demonstrate, they had real presence in the UAE. Now, a lot of countries had issue with UAE because many of their, entities, say for example, European companies started setting up shell companies or, paper companies out in the country just to avoid taxation, to shift profits, etc. Now, that hurt a lot of other countries. Well, to negate that, in 2019, UAE had implemented economic substance regulation wherein, companies had to file and give data to the authority saying that, they're actually an operating company, they have physical presence in the UAE, and they're not just a paper company. In 2020, just along with your economic substance regulation, we had the ultimate beneficial owner disclosure requirement that came in. Now, this led to increase in transparency and KYC requirements. And for auditors, it meant more checking. And recently, but last and not the least, in 2023, with a bang came the federal corporate tax, a major structural change that took place, and it shook the entire tax landscape of UAE. Now, with this came requirements for tax planning, transfer pricing benchmarking, and a lot of other regulatory professional advices that were required in this industry. Now, the corporate tax announcement, if I have to move along that line, the corporate tax announcement, it wasn't a sudden announcement. Rather, it was culminated over several years, almost a decade back. Now, UAE had to put CT in motion back in 2014 or 15 itself. Now, back in those days, the European Union especially, they had an issue with UAE. Not exactly with UAE, but they had an issue with companies being set up in the UAE and European Union losing their tax revenue because a lot of European Union entities started moving into UAE, setting up paper companies, setting up shell companies, and they started shifting profits or reducing profits unnecessarily in the European Union. Now that led to decrease in tax revenue for them, and it was a big hit for them. Now, in a very simple term, the EU basically went at and complained against UAE to the FATF. Now, FATF stands for Financial Action Task Force. It's like an intergovernmental body just like the UN, but FATF looks after money laundering issues or combating financing of terrorism and things at a higher level. Now, when FATF got a news of this and got a complaint from the European Union, well, they blacklisted UAE back in 2014. Now, when UAE was blacklisted, it didn't do good to UAE because a lot of foreign investments, a lot of foreign businesses started getting impacted, and UAE was being squeezed. Now, in order to get out of this blacklist, FATF had pressured UAE or insisted UAE to become a part or onboard the OECD inclusive framework. OECD stands for Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Now, when UAE onboarded with the OECD inclusive framework, they also had a tiny condition along with a numerous list of conditions. And the tiniest condition that stayed there was, if you are part of the OECD framework, the said country must charge a minimum corporate tax of 9% on the profits. Now, UAE being a very different country or being a very standard setting country said they don't want to round it up to a good number like 10%, 15%, 20%. Rather, they wanted to stick with a one-digit tax rate. And hence, they opted for the lowest tax rate that was possible in the OECD framework. And hence, today in UAE, we have one of the lowest tax rates in the world, with the tax rate being 0% or 9%. Now, with the effect of FATF, now FATF blacklisted UAE, UAE got into the OECD framework, and as part of the framework is where I want to jump back to the slide, where they had to input or establish all these regulations. The excise tax, VAT, anti-money laundering, ESR, UBO, and corporate tax were all not incidental. Rather, they were planned much ahead in time and carefully implemented in the UAE. With a lot more regulatory updates yet to come in the UAE, this sets a very core background of UAE's intention. They would love to get all the investment, grow as a financial hub, as well as keep the compliances at a minimal but strict and straightforward level. With the introduction of corporate tax, FATF has finally removed UAE from this blacklist. And this happened not too far behind, but if you notice the date, 23rd February 2024, almost exactly 2 years back. So it is very, very, very recent. Now, what does this mean for tax and audit professionals in the UAE? With the advent of all these regulations, all these updates that happened, we have to focus on two key regulatory authorities. We have the Federal Tax Authority, or FTA, who looks into the tax agent or tax related matters. And then we have the Ministry of Economy, or MOE. The Ministry of Economy overlooks the auditor's profession. Now, with the advent of these regulations, with the strengthening of the powers held by these two authorities, the whole requirement for upholding public trust in tax and audit systems and to ensure proper high regulatory and compliance standards were insisted. Now, core obligations for both these professions that we have to look into are maintain integrity and honesty in all the works, in all the client representations that they do. And of course, one of the key component is to maintain confidentiality. And strict confidentiality rules were set in by the authorities. Independence and objectivity were things that were emphasized, and not just that. Once you enter into these professions, it's not a one-time job, but ensuring that continuous professional development requirements are also set in. So once you become a tax agent or once you become a registered auditor, you have to do yearly renewals of your licenses to practice the profession. And as part of the yearly renewal, you have to maintain CPD hours, or continuous professional development hours. So continuous learning is also instilled to the professionals that are practicing tax or audit in the UAE. And likewise, it's not just the government growing, but the authorities want the professionals as a whole to grow along with the nation. Certain specific expectations that the authorities have from the tax agents are, providing accurate representations before the tax authorities or in case of any tax disputes, and to maintain professional indemnity and good conduct. Certain expectations from registered auditors would be to adhere to the auditing standards or make strict or implement strictly the auditing standards. And not only that, to improve the overall quality and standard of documenting the work papers or signing off or audit conclusions, etc. So from being a desert nation to a global financial hub, with great power came great responsibility, and with great responsibility came greater compliances and greater regulations. Now, rather than seeing these regulations as hindrances, UAE has taken it up as a challenge, and UAE has made sure to implement it at the highest standard, not just from the government perspective, but from the professional level itself. Now, hope this has set a good understanding of what UAE is, how the regulatory landscape is, and how it is evolving. Let us now move into section 2 of today's session. And section 2 is all about what's in it for you. What are the career scopes for tax and audit professionals in the UAE? Let's start with audit professionals. What's in it for them, or what's in it for you, in fact? Certain key demand drivers that came along with the regulatory updates are new corporate tax compliances, which led to mandatory audits, strengthening of companies law, and stricter banking requirements. Just to give you a fair idea about companies law in the UAE, just like how we have in India a companies law, UAE as well have their own commercial companies law. While this company law has been there in force from the 1970s itself, we had a very particular provision in the companies law that said every company must provide audited financial statements within so and so months from the end of the financial year. But however, despite it being in effect from 1970s, neither the government asked for it, neither the businesses cared about it, and everybody just left it in silence in the law. But not anymore. With all of these regulatories or regulations evolving in the UAE, the companies law provisions are now being strengthened, and because of that, mandatory audits are being increased. Everyone, even the business owner or the entrepreneurs industry in the UAE itself, are being more aware of the requirement of audits. And not only that, stricter banking requirements. Earlier in the UAE, say 10 years back in the UAE, there wasn't any legal need as such for companies to provide audit reports. People used to make audit reports if they wanted to get financing facility from the banks or etc. But now the banks, for KYC purposes or AML purposes or even renewing facilities, they have made submission of the audit reports mandatory. Now with all these drivers, driving up the demand in the UAE, what are the sectors that you can focus on. Now, for audit professionals, you can either start your own practice, or you can be part of a professional firm, be part of the audit team, be part of the assurance team, etc. Or, of course, be part of the industry. Join a company, become a CFO level, take care of their audits, take care of internal audits, etc. The scope for them is huge. So with all these regulations, all these demand drivers, we have demand sectors, and not only that, employers are hunting for good talent in the UAE. To give you a little idea about the scopes and specializations, like I said, it is too vast for me to cover, but some of the key audit scopes or specializations that audit professionals can practice out in the UAE are external audits, statutory audits and assurance services, internal audit, risk control and operational reviews, forensic and investigations, forensic accounting, forensic auditing, or even, as a matter of fact, providing forensic report for court case purposes is something that is growing out in the UAE. And of course, with the technology side of it, IT and systems audit is something that is being heavily developed in the UAE. Now, UAE is well known for the AI race, wherein they're not the ones creating AI, but companies setting up in UAE, creating automations, helping businesses improve the overall AI bit of it, and implement the top-notch technology in the UAE. The requirement for IT or system audits have grown in the UAE as well. There isn't much of experts out there in the field who are both audit professionals and IT professionals, but if you have both the skill set, you can definitely close the gap out there. Then we have risk and compliance advisory, and last but not the least, but something that is growing quite famously, is the ESG reporting. Now, ESG or sustainability reporting is something that is being sold as hotcake, and something that does not have too many talent available as of today. Well, this is a key area, if you can jump in early, that is an area that you can grab onto at the early stage. Now, that being said about the audit professionals, let's see what's in it for the tax professionals over here. Before we go into what's in it for them, I wanted to discuss certain milestones that are in the favor of tax professionals in the UAE. As you all know, there are indirect taxes and direct taxes. Now, in indirect tax, we have VAT, we have excise tax, and this year onwards, we have the e-invoicing regulation being implemented in the UAE. As we speak, there are vendors, there are authorities drafting up the law for e-invoicing, and mid of this year itself, companies greater than 50 million dirhams in revenue are supposed to appoint their e-invoicing vendors and start implementing e-invoicing towards the end of the year. Now, with e-invoicing, VAT, excise tax, all of these regulations coming in the indirect tax of it, we have corporate tax and its related services in the direct tax as a big milestone. On a very lighter note, the word transfer pricing was very new for a lot of businessmen in the UAE. When they heard of transfer pricing, everybody thought they had to transfer their businesses because it was never heard of in the UAE. But with the wake of the direct taxation of companies or corporate taxation, the term transfer pricing is now well known in the market, and everybody is trying to get their hands on it and develop this profession. In fact, to give you a perspective over here, with the wake of transfer pricing requirements, there were very less in-house talent in the UAE who could deal with transfer pricing requirements. A lot of them were picking it up as soon as the corporate tax was announced, but the majority of the demand was dealt with a lot of companies, a lot of firms coming from India, coming from Malaysia, coming from Singapore, coming from Pakistan, coming from the UK and other corners of the world. We had professionals from all these developed tax nations come and set up their offices in the UAE to tap into this demand. So before it's too late, I believe this is something that is a big scope for any tax professional in the UAE. So now, what's in it for them? The demand drivers that I would like to summarize over here would be the new corporate tax and compliance advisory, something that is going to drive up the demand for tax professionals. Cross-border tax structuring and transfer pricing requirement is something that is much, much, much required. And the term cross-border is something that everybody must keep their eyes on, because UAE is a global financial hub wherein you have companies, you have MNEs, MNCs set up out here. All the international firms have some stake or the other in the UAE. While dealing with cross-border structuring and transfer pricing of such multinational companies is a key requirement as of today. And of course, last but not the least, the digital tax reporting and tax technology adoption, which now in the most immediate scenario is the e-invoicing requirements out in the UAE. Now, what are the demand sectors? Well, if you notice, it's almost the same as the audit professions itself, literally anywhere. You can start your own practice, you can be part of professional firms, it could be big fours, it could be mid-sized firms, it could be even boutique firms out here in the UAE. A lot of boutique firms are being set up. Certain companies that deal with only certain industries, especially shipping and logistic entities, manufacturing entities, trading entities, all of these have certain boutique firms as well. They focus only on those industries. And last but not the least, yes, if you're a tax professional and you don't want to do your own practice or be part of a firm, you can definitely join any large company, because just as important as the accounting division of a company, the tax division of a company is now something that is growing a lot. Larger companies have teams of 5 to 10 tax professionals in-house to deal with their cross-border transactions and in-house transfer pricing requirements. So you have a lot of demand drivers, you have a lot of demand sectors that you can tap into. And for the sake of it, yes, let us look into what are the certain scopes or specializations that you can kind of keep an eye on. Now, compliance and reporting, or the most basic thing like corporate tax return filing, VAT or tax return filings are one of the initial things that you can catch upon. Corporate tax advisory is something that is growing and is of great importance as of today over here in the UAE. Another thing about UAE is, just like how we have the SEZ concept in India, the special economic zones, we have something called free zones in the UAE. We have the mainland business, which is the normal business and LLC company, and we have free zone companies, which are given certain rights and certain benefits from taxation. If they meet all the required conditions of the free zone conditions, then they can even qualify for a 0% taxation on their entire taxable income. So corporate tax advisory, helping companies set up the right way from the start itself, is something that is growing out. Transfer pricing documentation, like we mentioned, indirect tax or VAT implementation, dealing with VAT issues or court disputes. Tax technology and data analytics is something that is growing. If you notice the word MRA tax on the screen, MRA tax is nothing but the tax portal in UAE. So MRA tax is the tax portal of UAE, which comes under the Federal Tax Authority. And this tax portal, it's a single portal for managing all your taxes, your excise tax, your VAT, your corporate tax, all the required, even tax residency certificate requirements. Everything happens in a single portal. The government themselves is growing much bigger in terms of technology implementation, and so should we. And last but not the least, a specialist advisory. A lot of M&A opportunities in the mergers and acquisitions, BPS responses, and something in UAE right now is even UAE is implementing something called a Pillar 2, BPS Pillar 2. Now, when UAE implements BPS Pillar 2, certain MNC companies are not going to be subject to the one-digit tax rate of 9%, but they will be subject to 15% minimum global tax. Now, with all these regulatory updates and all these scopes and specializations available for both the audit professionals and tax professionals, let us try to put them both in a single table and see the comparison. Now, you could be a student who is trying to figure out, do you want to move into taxation field or do you want to move into audit field? Or in fact, if you can do it, might as well take both these fields, tax and audit, as they go hand in hand with each other. Now, the core focus of these two professions are, with respect to taxation, the core focus is on compliance, planning, tax advisory, and bits of it like that. The core focus for audit profession is preparing financial statements, providing assurance services, implementing controls or internal audit controls in a company, etc. Typical employers for both tax and audit companies are like you have big fours here, you have a lot of professional firms, boutique firms, mid-sized firms, and not only that, the regulators themselves are employers of these two professionals. If I have to give you a perspective that the Federal Tax Authority, with the local population being less, they couldn't handle it with them itself, with their local population. Rather now, they are widely hiring other nationalities who are in this taxation field. A lot of Indians, a lot of Egyptians, a lot of Pakistanis, a lot of Singaporeans, a lot of Europeans, all of them are being hired by the FTA to provide government related services or even start performing tax audits. So your employers are not just the firms or industries out there, but the government of UAE themselves. Key skills required for taxation would be, understanding your tax law in and out, being an expert in it, tax modeling, tax advisory, and of course, in both the field, keep in mind communication skill is gold. Without proper communication skill, any talent that you have is a waste in the UAE, I would say. Because UAE is very vibrant. You're dealing with multiple nationalities over here. And over here, irrespective of your talent, if you're not able to convey or communicate your matter properly, then that would be a direct hit to your talent. So make sure you develop your communication skills because it is imperative. It is necessary for you to strive in the UAE. From the audit perspective, yes, understanding auditing standards, testings, professional skepticism is key. In both tax and audit, we have certain certifications. Now, for tax, we have registered tax agents as a certificate, and for audits, we have registered auditors with the Ministry of Economy as a separate license. You could be a CA, you could be an ACCA, you could be a BCom graduate, you can be an MBA, you could be any other professional graduate. All of these candidates from these multiple backgrounds have a chance to become either a tax agent or an auditor in the UAE. Unlike India, where you have to become a chartered accountant to become a signing partner for an audit firm, in the UAE it is more diverse. Irrespective of your background, if you're coming from at least finance, accounting, or audit background, and you have set number of years as experience, but you're not a CA, you may just be an MBA holder, you might just be a BCom holder, but if you can display your expertise, display your experience in the field, you can obtain your signing power in the UAE, become a registered auditor. Now, how to do that? Yes, we will get into it in the next section, but keep that in mind. And the career outcomes for both tax and audit professionals would be, in case of a taxation professional, being a tax manager, being a transfer pricing specialist, being a tax director, all of these are certain positions that are coming on top of my head as well. And for an audit professional, yes, being an audit manager, being an internal audit head, being a signing partner of your own firm or any other professional firm, and of course, becoming a CFO or even higher positions in industrial entities. So yes, keep in mind that certain required skills like communication is key. And not only that, in this age of AI, in this age of technology, you have to stay updated with the technology to be relevant in this industry. Now, that is a lot of information to go through. Yes, I understand. But the core concept of understanding the demand drivers, understanding the wideness of the scope and opportunities available in the UAE is imperative for you to make a decision. Now let us look into a general pathway on how you can become a tax agent in the UAE. On a lighter note, now I'm a chartered accountant, I'm a CA. I did my CA while doing my BCom F&A course with Christ itself. And both in my intermediate level and in my finals, the subject that I failed in both these attempts were taxation. And today I am leading the tax role out here in my own firm, and we take care of a lot of expert matters here. But that failure has, given me a chance to learn tax more and understand it better and come back stronger in my next attempt. So yes, to become a registered tax agent in the UAE, a key idea would be first, the candidates would have to enroll in recognized VAT or corporate tax diploma certification that are conducted by certain bodies. Now, PwC is one of the most widely accepted body who provides VAT or corporate tax diploma certificates. Once you obtain your diploma certificate, obviously you have to attend about 2 months worth of weekend classes. You have to appear for a multiple choice question examination. Once you clear the examination, you will be awarded with a VAT or a CT diploma certificate. Upon getting the diploma certificate, you can make an application with the FTA through the MRA tax portal, which is the tax portal of UAE. And once you give your application along with certain documents like your IDs, your passports, your education, your experience letters, and all of this bit, they will check, review, approve it within probably a month's time, and then you will have to link yourself with a tax agent firm. It could be your own firm. You can start a company under your name, or you could become a partner in any other firm, or link yourself to one of the tax-related firms. And of course, it's not as simple as getting a registration, but annual CPD requirements are a must. If you're a corporate tax or a VAT tax agent, you need at least 20 hours of continuous professional development hours that you'll have to log and submit before getting your renewal done. Some of the educational requirements are you should have a degree. It could be master's or bachelor's in either accounting, either finance, or a law background, or even the tax background as well. So you have a wide opportunity available. You could be a student from LLB, in fact. You could be a finance student. You could be an accounting student, or you could be a tax student. Anybody from these background, any bachelor's degree or master's degree from this background, if you have it, then you can definitely initiate your tax agent journey in the UAE. One of the other conditions you have to keep in mind is you should have at least 3 years of relevant experience either in tax or finance field in the UAE as well. So you can start your journey today and ensure you get 3 years of experience in the UAE in either tax or finance field. And from the 4th year onwards, yes, you can give an application to become a tax agent yourself, and even start your own practice out very easily in the UAE. One more point which I would like to highlight is, as of today, in this entire population of 11.5 million people in the UAE, and the population of companies is roughly about 800 or 850,000 companies in the UAE, 850,000 companies in the UAE. To deal with all these companies, as of today, if you go to the website, you'll find that there are only 750 odd tax agents in the UAE. Think about it. To deal with 800,000 companies in the UAE, as of today, the talent pool of tax agents in the UAE right now are only 750 or 754 tax agents in the UAE. Think about that opportunity and let it sink in. Now, for more details, yes, I believe the slide will be shared with the students or the attendees as well. There is a link where you can go to the government site and see what are the exact breakdown of the conditions or detailed conditions to become a tax agent in the UAE. Now to the general pathway of becoming an auditor in the UAE, which is fairly simple as well. Now, irrespective of your background, you could be a BCom holder, you could be a chartered accountant, you could be a CPA from the US, you could be a CMA holder, you could be an ACCA, you could be anybody from a legal background as well. In fact, any background that you're coming from, but you are able to display at least 5 years of professional experience in the field of accounting or auditing in the UAE, then in that case, you can go ahead and obtain a membership with the EAAA. Now, EAAA is a local professional body for accountants and auditors. It stands for Emirates Association for Accountants and Auditors. Now, you can obtain a membership with the EAAA. As soon as you get your membership with the EAAA, you can enroll for 3 subjects or 3 courses which you have to do. And these 3 courses are with respect to audit, with respect to taxation, and with respect to the general regulatory background of UAE. Once you study for these exams and clear the exams, and these exams are conducted in conjunction with ACCA. ACCA Institute is the course provider and the examination partner for the EAAA exams. And once you clear these exams, you can apply for fellowship, the EAAA fellowship, provided you have at least 3 to 5 years of audit experience in your career. Once you obtain a fellowship in this body, you can now go ahead and apply with the Ministry of Economy for auditor registration. Other documents are required as well, but once you submit them with the Ministry of Economy, they take roughly about a month's time to review it and get back to you and give you your approval. Once you receive a pre-approval from the Ministry of Economy, you can now go ahead and link yourself with any audit firm to initiate your practice. In short, you can become a signing partner in the UAE once you get your MOE approval. Now, to become a signing partner, yes, you have to be in one of the licenses, or you will have to link yourself as one of the audit heads with an audit company. And again, just like your tax agent requirement, getting your approval, it doesn't end there. You have yearly renewals, and to successfully get your yearly renewals, you need to make sure that you fulfill the annual CPD requirements, continuous professional development. So yes, educational requirements, irrespective of your background, if you have experience in these sectors, in accounting or finance, or in fact, assume that we had a couple of people who are from computer applications background. A couple of auditors in the UAE are from the technology side of it. They are bachelors or BCA, bachelors of computer application, and for them, obviously, their degree does not hold accounting or audit as a subject. Rather, there are compensatory courses that are available here, wherein at least 15 credit hours they'll have to obtain, saying that they've done audit or accounting related course. And with that credit hours, along with the years of experience in this field of audit and accounting, they can move ahead and apply to become one of the fellow members of the body and apply for an auditor registration in the UAE. Now, all of you would be thinking that is pretty crazy. Well, yes, it is pretty crazy. But yes, the scope is wide, the background is wide. Auditors are not going to be the typical auditors who know only audit or accounting, but they want talent to come from technology side of it. A lot of engineers, in fact, are practicing as auditors today because that mindset is much required for this industry as well. So expand your knowledge in technology, expand your knowledge in basic engineering ideas, expand your knowledge in accounting and auditing, taxation. All of these culminate and make you one of the strongest professionals or one of the strongest talent that would be available. So yes, keep all of these in mind. The scope is quite wide, scope is very huge. And in fact, even if you're not a CA, you can celebrate and still become an auditor out here in the UAE. Now, with all that being said, if I may come to slide 1, I wanted to give you or just revisit the objectives or the agenda that we had discussed. I hope you're able to understand the UAE's tax and regulatory landscape now, understand what the career options both tax and audit professions have to offer you, and also a general idea of how the registration pathways help. Now, with all of these objectives, I believe have been conveyed to you, let us move into agenda number 5. And agenda number 5 is nothing but a tiny activity. Now, for this activity, I want everybody's participation. It's a very tiny activity. You don't need to speak with each other. There is not a lot of brainstorming to do, but rather a basic check on what do you really want. A basic introspection would be required from your end. Okay, now the activity goes like this. Can everybody see about, I think, 6 employer types on the screen? I've mentioned 6 employer types on the screen now. There is Big Four advisory, a regional accounting firm, an in-house corporate tax team, a free zone company, the government themselves, or a boutique advisory firm. Now take a look at these 6 employer types. Take a look at their description that is there on the screen. And I want all of you to carefully select which one employer they would like to move ahead with. I'm going to pause for about 20 seconds. Take 20 seconds to read through it and select any one employer for yourself. You don't need to say it out loud. You don't need to share it with anybody. Just answer it for yourself, or probably even write it down if you need to. Okay, I'll be waiting for 20 seconds and the time starts now. We have Big Fours, regional accounting firms, in-house corporate tax teams, free zone companies, government or regulators, or boutique advisory. Either of these teams, take a careful look at the description or what are the agenda or the job description or the rules that they have to offer. Take a careful look at each and every employer type that is mentioned on the screen. Okay, I think we are up with 20 seconds. Now, let us slowly move on to the next slide. I hope all of you remember the employer type that you're selecting, right? Okay. Now, keeping in mind the employer type, I want each and every one of you to create a one-line student profile about yourself and mention a goal and at least 2 concrete actions to make yourself hireable for that employer role that you just selected in the UAE. I've stated an example on the screen for your betterment. Example, if I were to say this, my student profile would be, hi guys, I'm Jason. I'm a final year BCom F&A student, and I'm interested in the employer type of boutique advisory. My goal would be to secure an internship or an entry role at a boutique advisory firm that is serving shipping and logistics sector within the coming 6 months. Now, with that goal being stated, a couple of action points I would give myself would be is to complete a course on understanding shipping and logistics within the said 6 months, to grow my LinkedIn connections. Now, LinkedIn is a very powerful tool, everybody, and that is something that all of you must develop ASAP, probably today itself. As soon as the session is done, get into your LinkedIn profiles and start connecting with people. So a goal or action that I would give myself would be to grow at least 500 LinkedIn connections with profiles in the shipping or logistics industry within the coming 6 months, and obviously to secure a 6-month internship with a boutique firm or a tax advisory that deals with shipping or logistic company. So this is the example that I would give. Likewise, with the employer that all of you have selected, I want you to introspect for about 30 seconds as to how your student profile is. Write down at least one goal and share 2 action points. I'm going to give about 30 seconds of a time gap. I want all of you to write it down or type it down or just think about it and remember it. And I would request one of the volunteers, either anybody can volunteer themselves, any 2 or 3 people can volunteer themselves and share their student profile, goal, and action. Or if no voluntary participation, well, I will have to ask the volunteers over here to pick out 2 or 3 random attendees so that they can convey their student profile, convey one goal, and at least 2 concrete actions on how to make yourself hireable. Yeah, let's give it a 30-second time gap, and I'll be waiting. Just in case everybody wants to see the employer types. Is anybody ready with their statement? If yes, it would be great if you can unmute yourself and just present it yourself. Anybody willing to volunteer and share one of their student profiles, goals, and actions? I can see, oh, yeah, sure. You can unmute yourself and present yourself. Sure, go ahead.
Hi, firstly, amazing session. I'm Chaitra. I'm a second year student in BCom International Accountancy and Finance. I'm interested in the employer type of Big Four advisory. My goal would be to secure an entry level role within the next 1 month. Sorry, in the next 1 year, my bad. In the next 1 year in like auditing, but in the industry of real estate or investment management. The actions I'm taking towards it is I have a good connection base on LinkedIn, especially based in the UAE, from like big four companies and like even other boutique advisory companies as well. And I have an internship in Big Four, but in India. So my action I have to take towards this is try to get opportunities in the UAE. And also, I want to learn more about real estate and investment management.
Oh, that's great, and it's pretty interesting that you've stuck with the real estate sector because yes, real estate is one of the booming sides of it in the UAE.
Yeah,
UAE is a country that was built from desert, and so real estate is at the heart of it, and it's quite good that you've struck that point over there. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your participation. All the
thank
best.
you.
Similarly, can we have one more volunteer come up and share their goal or share their student profile as well? Yes, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself and go ahead, Satvika.
Hi, I'm Satvika Kohul, a second year F&A student, and I'm interested in the type of the employer is free zone multinational. So one goal that I have is to get an internship within 1 year in such field. So for that, I would like to maybe take up courses which require some technical like knowledge, as well as more about cross-border compliances, these two courses, and also build a strong connection with somebody who's already in this field in UAE right now.
That is great. Thank you so much, Satvika. If I may just ask you to repeat which course you're doing?
F&A, financial
Meaning,
accountancy.
I'm sorry, can you just repeat it once more?
Financial accountancy, it's the CA
Ah,
integrated
okay.
course,
Finance
the
and
same
account.
one you've done.
Great, great. All right. Thank you so much for sharing that, Satvika. It is quite good that she struck with a free zone multinational company because free zones as well is something that is growing quite a lot in UAE. To give you a perspective, I don't think there is any other country in the world with these many number of free zones in the UAE. There's about 65, 70 free zones out there in the UAE, and it's actually growing. Every month, there is a new free zone that is growing out in the UAE. So that is the level of uh, business opportunity that UAE as a landscape is offering to companies out there. All right. Thank you so much for both of you. Is there anybody who would like to present it, or should we move on with the Q&A session? Right. We have Niyamat. Please go ahead.
Uh, Hi, I'm Yamat Ratan, and I'm a first year student in Accountancy and Taxation Honors. So I want to go in the employer path of like Big Four path, and my goal would be like to get an entry level tax associate or like something like that in the 12 months of my graduation, I guess. And for that, I feel that I'll first of all have to gain more knowledge about the UAE and VAT and corporate tax certification courses, and also strengthen my background in advanced Excel, and also build a professional LinkedIn, I guess, with about at least 250 UAE tax related connections.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Niyam, for sharing that. And I did like the way you said, learn advanced Excel. Yes, while Excel is not directly, something that anybody teaches you as a tax agent or as an auditor, but having advanced Excel knowledge is key for you to deliver your services or perform your analysis quite smooth. And yes, Excel is key. Make sure that even if nobody asks you to learn it, take it up as a challenge and a self-learning. In my days, from my first year of college itself, I made it a habit to watch YouTube classes or just watch random 5-minute YouTube videos on how to learn a new formula on a daily basis. And that did me wonders. When I reached my position, I was able to display that professionalism or that speed in the work that I was doing. And it all started with learning at least one formula or one function or one shortcut in Excel all these 3 years while I was in my, in college, while I was in Christ. And it didn't end there. Every single day I'm learning new techniques, I'm learning new formulas, and that continuous learning is a must. So I would like to really highlight how you said learning advanced Excel. Kudos to you. With that being said, if there's anyone else who would like to present, let me know, or we can move ahead with the Q&A session. Okay, great. I really like the participation that is happening here. We have S. Hima. Go ahead, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Hima and I'm in my third year of BCom. I'm planning to pursue my fourth year as well to get my honors degree. And I've completed 8 of my ACCA papers. So before the end of my graduation, I hope to finish my ACCA certification. And my goal would be to secure an internship or an entry level role within the next 6 months in a boutique advisory. I wish to go towards the corporate tax in UAE. So for this, I think I need to develop my technical skills, revise my ACCA concepts, and build a portfolio with some projects which I can build over the next few months and position my CV in the UAE style.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Hema. And over here also, I would like to highlight how you mentioned that you want to focus a lot more into the corporate tax side of it. Just to give everybody a perspective about UAE corporate tax, it isn't quite hard to learn it. The law is quite simple, it's quite narrow, it's quite straightforward, and it's been 2 years since the law was introduced in the UAE. So the law is not very thick. It started with about 67 pages, and over the last 2 years we had about 50 new additions that came in, and it's about 1000 to 1500 pages as of now with every single thing combined. But if I have to compare it with the Indian income tax law, which is a matured income tax itself, versus the corporate tax law that we have out in the UAE, it would be a piece of cake. You can probably learn it with a couple of months' time, and of course, with the relevant experience, it would be a very powerful tool that you can use for your career. Thank you so much. Okay, I think in the best interest of time, we will now move on with the Q&A session, and the floor is now open to all of you out there. I have a little sticker that says your turn because yes, anybody can go ahead and ask any question. Yes, Satvika.
So I've recently given my CA intermediate examination. I haven't gotten results yet, but if I were to look for articleship, is there scope for articleship for Indian students in the UAE?
Right. Now in UAE, there are articles over here and people do articleship over here in the UAE as well. But I would suggest you perform your articleship back in India, because in UAE, again, like I said, the laws are quite straightforward. You might not face many difficulties as such over here. But if you're someone who plans to settle out in UAE, I would say performing your articleship in the UAE would be an A1 choice, because you will have an entire picture of the company, an entire culture of the country, and get a clear, good understanding of the taxation rules, the audit rules out here in the UAE. If your intention is to finally move out to UAE and settle out over here and build a career out in the UAE, it is something that you can definitely look forward to. There are firms that provide articleships out here in the UAE. There is a tiny, what do you say? I would say a technical, not a glitch, but a limitation right now in the SSP portal is that they still haven't updated it to recognize foreign CA firms as of now. Now that turns out to become a slight issue. However, any principal in the UAE who has any sort of professional address in India, they are still able to hire articles under them in the UAE, and ICA chapter is still going ahead and allowing it. So with that tiny hiccup in mind, it is still possible. And if your end goal or your intention is to move out and set up a professional career in the UAE, go ahead. It is an A1 decision, I would say.
Just one more question.
Sure.
So, I know the session was to highlight on the audit and tax related areas, but could you also give a little bit information on the finance, for say PE or other types like that,
Of
investment banking?
course. Of course, of course. I mean, the scope is quite wide. And the way employers try to hire talent over here is not based on your education alone. It's based on how well you're able to portray yourself, how quick you're able to learn new items, and how well you're able to handle the task. Now, you could be a CA, but you could come out to UAE and probably learn something in the banking side. You have a scope in banking sector as well. Being a CA student, being a finance or accounting student, or being an audit student, your scope is quite wide. You can fit into banking, you can fit into industries for FP&A roles, financial planning, financial advisory, data analyst roles, and in fact, along with your finance study, even if you're self-studying certain technology updates or Power BIs or any other ERPs utilization, then in that case you can club your audit or accounting experience with technology, and you can even move into the technology sector. We have a couple of parties where, what do you say, a couple of students, a couple of friends of mine who are from the CA background, but now they are taking care of certain technological side of it, designing systems, designing ERPs, designing finance softwares, or implementation of hardcore workflow management systems in the company. It really does not put a limitation as to what you can do, but all of these options are available to you. So yes, banking is a widely available option for you. FP&A roles is a widely available option for you. Financial analysis roles or data analysis roles, even technology, as a matter of fact, is an option available to you.
Thank you. That's it.
Sure. Yeah, just in line, not directly answering Satvik over here, but a common point that everyone must keep in mind is, remember I spoke about how you should improve your communication skills, because so long as you can communicate and articulate yourself very well in the UAE, it does you wonders and it open doors over here. And just in par with communication, all of you must develop or must show an interest towards entrepreneurship. Having an employee mindset will help you get you your career to an extent, but if you really want to move out there or stand out, or not build a career but rather build a fortune for yourself, always keep entrepreneurship at the back of your head. Someday, either at some stage of your career or at the starting stage of your career, get that relevant experience. Keep in mind, an entrepreneurship angle in your mind. Maybe like starting your own firm, starting your own practice, probably after getting enough experience in the industry, or like one of the attendees, you mentioned real estate. You could actually even start your own real estate agency or firm out here in the UAE. Having that entrepreneurship mindset is going to get you much higher. Don't just stick with being a tax or audit professional. I would say all these are just an entry level in the market to understand how this really works out, or how this country really operates, and then kick in with your own ideas, kick in with your own imagination, and build on it. Go ahead, Vallavi.
You can call me Chaitra.
Okay, it is quite a big name. It took me some
I
time to read it.
understand.
Yes, Chaitra.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I've finished 10 of my ACCA papers.
Sure.
I have interned in Deloitte,
Okay.
and I also hold residency visa in the UAE.
Okay.
So most of the entry level jobs in a, like especially in Big 10, if you check the website for the openings, all of them have a requirement for UAE nationals, for freshers. That's what I've noticed. So
Yes. Yes. UAE nationals or UAE residents? Nationals, you mentioned.
nationals, they specifically mention they want nationals.
Yes. Just to give
So
you an idea about that as well, before you move ahead, the requirement for UAE nationals is because of something called Emiratization in the UAE. wherein the government is trying to get their local citizens employed across other industries in the country. So they've made it like a mandatory rule where at least 2% of the workforce should be local citizens. At least 10% of the workforce should be local citizens. So there is a quota which the company also has to meet, and probably that's why you noticed, UAE nationals in the hiring pages.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah, so the issue is how do freshers from India apply for those in those firms like in Big Ten? Obviously from website and career openings and the website is not working. So and referrals, it's really hard to get a reply back from anyone on LinkedIn. So what's the best pathway for someone of my
There
background?
is no straight answer over here, Chaitra. You will have to knock all the doors that you can. I would say start with your LinkedIn connections itself. You remember in my example, I said at least 500 LinkedIn connections in the next 6 months. Well, you have to grow it big. As of today, I'm able to make at least 6,000 connections out here. And in those connections, probably 10% of it is going to be the active connections. So if you're going to approach 200 people, you're going to get 10% of that as some sort of response, and probably 1% as a conversion. So expand your connection, reach a lot of doors, and connect with them. That is one bit of it. And if you're looking to get openings in, say, Big Fours or Big Fives or even Big Tens, yes, they do have a hierarchy system. They do have an HR process, which might be a little tedious to get through. Rather, if you're looking to gain enough experience in the UAE first and then move to a higher role, in fact, joining any mid-sized firm itself would do you justice. You could start with entry-level salaries. You could get enough exposure compared to Big Fours and Big Tens. Joining a mid-sized firm, pushes you to try out not just one single area. Like if you get into a Big Four and you're getting into audit, then you're stuck with audit alone. But moving into a mid-sized firm, they give you enough opportunity to do audit, tax, any other compliance, and different aspects of it. So if you're really looking out for experience, I would say rather than focusing on just a Big Ten for their name, really work on your experience with certain scenarios. Maybe target medium-sized firms. It's much easier to get a response. It's much easier to build experience for you and grow out. That is a different angle that you can think about. And I leave it up to you on how you want to approach that.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Sure. Any other question that anyone would like to ask? Okay, I think that would be the end of questions. If that is the case, thank you all for being a very good crowd, actually, quite a bit of questions and a really good participation in the activity. I really expected only one person to come back with their response, but we did have a lot of people come in, and thank you for that participation. Thank you all for being a wonderful crowd, and wishing you all the best for your studies. And obviously, keep in mind communication, entrepreneurship, and gain that relevant experience for what you want to really do out there. Thank you so much, and over to you, Kanak.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that comprehensive and insightful presentation. Your articulation of the evolving regulatory landscape, the emerging opportunities, and the competencies required has certainly provided our participants with both perspective and direction. Also, thank you to everyone for your thoughtful questions and active participation. That just truly reflected the curiosity that our Christ community has. As we conclude this enriching session, it is important to once again express our sincere gratitude. Our deepest thanks to Dr. Father Joe Ceci, Vice Chancellor, for fostering a culture where alumni engagement comes to flourish. To Dr. Father Josie, Director for Banagatta Campus, for his steadfast encouragement and institutional support. To Brigadier B.G. Jagdish, Director for the Office of Alumni Engagement and Center for Placement and Career Guidance, for his leadership and vision in strengthening global alumni networks. To Dr. Rishikesh KB, Associate Director, Institutional Partnerships, Internship and Alumni Connect, for his dedication in creating platforms that meaningfully connect academia and industry. To Ms. Monica Maria, mentor for the Middle East chapter, for guiding this regional alumni network with commitment and foresight. And most importantly, to CA Jaison Mandapathil, for sharing not only professional expertise but also inspiration through your journey. Finally, to all our alumni, students, faculty members, and participants who joined us today, thank you for being a part of this collective endeavor to learn, connect, and grow. The Christ Alumni Global Connect series continues to remind us that while geography may separate us, shared values unite us. With that, we formally conclude today's session. Have a wonderful evening ahead, and we look forward to welcoming you to our upcoming sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. It's a wonderful session. Yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.